Hey there, welcoming into the show, Lee Habeeb, creator and host of Our American Stories. Lee, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Stacy. Great to see the arches back there, by the way. Love St. Louis. Love the Lewis and Clark story because that's the Gateway Arch. This is where the Lewis and Clark journey began, one of the epic road trips in American history.
Yeah, I think I might have missed you when you were here a few years back having a fundraiser or something, some fancy party at a friend of mine who used to live in St. Louis. She had a chapel in her house, and I believe you were there that night, and I was unable to make it. Missed my opportunity to meet you in person and shake your hand, but it's great to have you here.
Well, great to be here, and it was a joy to be there. I spent a lot of my summers in St. Louis. I had a great aunt who lived in Highland, Illinois, and my dad and I would stay at the local Marriott and go to that beautiful baseball stadium, watch ball games together. Just great father-son time, great part of the country. And I'm a huge history guy, as you know from the show. And the joy was that Lewis and Clark memoir, the Meriwether Lewis memoirs. What really spurred me on in my interest in history was wondering what that must have been like to get to the Pacific with a group of 60 people, the Corps of Discovery, with no plan. No one had ever seen a grizzly before, buffalo before. What a crazy road trip. Talk about extreme
I mean,
travel.
the original road trip to beat all road trips. I agree.
Indeed,
So
indeed.
let's talk just a moment, just really quickly, because we have a short time here. But you host Our American Stories, and I don't know if people who haven't ever heard of it before really understand what a great opportunity to unplug from all of the politics and the craziness and get into something that it just it draws you in. It's a fantastic program, wildly popular across the country. Tell everyone where they can find it to listen.
Just go to Our American Stories anywhere you get your podcast. That would be iHeart or any platform, Apple, Spotify, any of the big platforms. Our show's there.
Perfect. Okay, so you're now talking with me today about the forgotten man, possibly putting Trump back into the White House. And you have unearthed a speech from 1883 that you feel could possibly explain the rise of Trump. Tell us more.
Well, a guy named William Graham Sumner wrote this piece called The Forgotten Man in Harper's. He was a Yale professor and he studied demography a lot, laissez faire economics. And he was noticing a trend already in our government and some of our ruling elites and some of our highest net worth folks, which is there was a dissonance between what they wanted the government to look like and the ambitions of the government and the people who paid the bills. And the people who paid the bills, as he put it, were the forgotten men and women of this country. He said they work, they seek little attention, they pray, and always they pay. Always they pay. And it goes on and on. It's a beautiful essay. I can't do it justice. I wrote that essay for Newsweek. We're actually doing that speech for Our American Stories. We recreate a lot of old great speeches, letters, Frederick Douglass, right up to modern times. But that speech, that's going on now. Like, why do our school boards teach what they teach? Right here on the local level. We pay the property taxes, but we have no say in the curriculum. Who said we should have to buy X amount of electric cars by 2035? We didn't vote on that. Who decided to say we can't ship liquefied natural gas to Europe? All those people working in the gas fields of America, the rigs, the compressors, all those people, all the investors stalled because a bureaucrat and the administrative state said we can't do that anymore. We didn't get to vote on this. We didn't get to do anything. And the mandate, of course, all the stuff that happened around COVID. Our schools are closed. I mean, we didn't get to vote on this. And so the forgotten man and woman, many of whom were former Union Democrats, many of whom were former Democrats, were joining forces with Trump, not because they thought he was a racist, not because they thought he was a bigot, and not because he was a Republican, because he was talking about the things they cared about, like the border. Who decided to open the borders? The American people don't want it. But there it is. The borders are open. And the American people, the forgotten men and women, are tired of it. And that explains Trump, in my estimation, that essay. It doesn't matter whether I'm for or against Trump. That was not the point of the essay. It was explain the rise of Trump. And I think that essay does it perfectly.
So, talk to us a little bit about the substance of the essay. What was the situation in which the person decided to write this essay back in 1883?
Sumner, progressivism, everybody thinks it started with Woodrow Wilson, but it really started before Teddy Roosevelt and even before. Look, you had the rise of big industrial America, and there were abuses. We have to remember that capitalism isn't perfect. And in the beginning, you had guys working in coal mines in the early days who had just enough money to go to the coal mine store and buy whatever they needed at the store, never to have any rights, never to have protections for lung disease. So the rise of the modern progressive movement was occurring as capitalism was rising. And what William Graham Sumner worried about then, as we still worry about now, is yes, we want protections from our government. Yes, we want to have clean rivers and clean waters, but we get to decide that. We get to vote on these things. We get to decide the cost. He was sensing that happening then. He was sensing that happening then because he was sensing that America was changing. The Industrial Revolution was changing America. And the question was, are the forgotten men and women going to be allowed to participate in the policies that make America better? Or is some elite group of experts going to decide for them? And that's the war going on right now in America. We have a foreign entity, Washington, D.C., lots of bureaucrats, academics, Davos, World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, talking about things with our tax money. It's our tax money. We get to decide. And if we choose to go with climate change, well, let the voters decide. And if the voters decide that's where we want to invest money, well, then that's where we're investing money. But it's our country. We pay the bills. We work. We should have a voice.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I feel like the passion that you're sharing with us today is exactly what Americans are saying on X. They're saying it at the grocery store as they look at these outrageous prices. They're saying it as they watch the stories about the liquefied natural gas. It's actually nonsensical for us not to sell it when we've shut down the Keystone XL pipeline and limited our domestic production to such a degree. It doesn't make any sense. But Americans are in a place now where it's not just the forgotten man, it's the forgotten taxpayer. Money
Yep.
going to Ukraine, no money for our veterans, no money for the Maui victims, no money for the people of East Palestine, Ohio. So I thank you so much, number one, for the show and for joining me today on Now on Salem News Channel. You've been amazing, Lee Habeeb. Good to see you. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Same here.
All right. And we will have more Stacy Washington Now on Salem News Channel coming up. We're going to be talking about something very important on the other side of the break on a Friday. Is it snowing where you are? It is here in St. Louis. We'll be right back.